Have you ever wondered what's in common between the founders of Netflix and Nike? Is their stories? Is the real unfiltered story about how they've built their startup, how they started from nothing to build extraordinary empire and businesses. So I'm Lydia, I'm banker turned entrepreneur, and this year I embarked my entrepreneurial startup journey. I'm building my own startup in the climate space. I'm still on my journey. I'm also a content creator and I love reading books. In the past several years, I read 150 books. These 5 books today I want to share with you are the great memoirs written by great founders and people who have an entrepreneurial journey in their own life. They're not only the stories behind doors, how people build their startups, but also I think these 5 books are just great stories. It's even like a movie. Every single one of them are so captivating, are so engaging. No matter whether you're trying to start something new, no matter whether you're trying to look for new books to add on to your 2025 to be read list, I highly recommend for these books, 10 out of 10, that you should put it on your list. And stick around because at the end of this video, I'm also going to share 5 qualities I have learned from great startup founders, great entrepreneurs, great business owners that will transform the way that you see 2025. So the first book is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Phil Knight is the founder of Nike. Unless you're living under the rock, you must have heard or bought at least one pair of Nike. We all know that nowadays Nike is a great company, it's a huge empire, they have everything. But before I read this book, I didn't know that Phil Knight he's a runner, he loves running. And at the very beginning, it's just a crazy idea. He just loved the shoes that people in Japan make. It's this shoe brand called Onitsuka Tiger. So what he did, he actually went to Japan. He took us together with him in 1960s. He's traveling around the world. It's a gap year. He finally made it to Japan and eventually he got this contract from Onitsuka Tiger and say, I want to represent you in America. You know how crazy it is? At the time, he didn't even have a company. He's a young guy from the US and sat in front of a whole team of executives from this established company. And he just told them, yes, I want to be a representative in the US. I can open the US market for you. And when people ask him, what's your company's name? He just came up with random names called Blue Ribbon. I think it's from his childhood memory or something like that. And that's how this Nike started. I think in this book, what I really enjoy is how much faith he has for his vision and how he actually built a company with people who have the vision. One of the quotes I really love in this book is, I would tell them, have faith in yourself, but also have faith in faith. Not faith as others define it, faith as you define it. Faith as faith defines itself in your heart. What a beautiful quote. So book number 2 is That Will Never Work by Marc Randolph. Marc Randolph is the co-founder of Netflix. I don't know how much you know about Netflix. Nowadays, of course, we watch Netflix every day. It has dramatically transformed the way that we consume media and how we see streaming and redefine everything. It's one of the biggest market cap in S&P and one of those stocks that keep climbing up every day. Do you know actually Netflix started off as a DVD renting business? It's so funny how now we see how successful they are. We actually ignore the beginning of the beginning. At the beginning, it's an idea so small and even silly as it seems like. The whole business idea is just, if you order from them, you can just rent a specific DVD and then they will put it in the mailbox and ship it to you. It's such a silly idea in a way that even when Marc Randolph said it to his wife was like, yeah, that will never work. And that's why this book is called That Will Never Work. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned from this book is actually the idea and the approach he take about rejections. One of the quotes he said is, no doesn't always mean no. And that's the lessons I need to take every single day. They reinforce the idea that even small steps lead to transformative outcomes, and also how we should approach rejections and no in our lives. So book number 3 is Mac and Cheese Millionaire. What makes this book stand out is actually its great storytelling. I didn't think too much before I picked up this book, but it's basically about Erin who left her traditional job. She just told it all outright in the book. She's like, I hate this job. As a lawyer, I don't know what I'm doing. I would never want to clock 1 extra hour voluntarily. And then eventually she got laid off, fired, to so to speak, but she got a package. And at this point, she's like, she can finally do something that she decided she just wanted to try out, this thing that she always wanted to do. She found out this business opportunity. She couldn't find any mac and cheese restaurant in Oakland, California, and then she opened this store. It's a simple business idea. It's just $8 mac and cheese, and eventually she made that work as one of the more successful that type of restaurant in this category, and she sold it to a restaurant group in 2020, and that made herself as a millionaire. One of the things I found it very inspiring to read is because she's so honest about all the difficulties and so honest about when she needs to make the leap of faith. She leave her quote-unquote fancy lawyer career path to build this very bread and butter, and everything is just like roll up your sleeves and really get down to the basic of dealing with mac and cheese. But because she enjoyed it and because she really pours her heart into this business, it became a great business. And it's not just about building something big, keep rolling out new stores or keep expanding it. She just focused on one store, and she made that one store as one of the best mac and cheese restaurants. She writes, all of our experiences, even the ones we regret as an abject waste of time, are still forming little interconnected notes beneath the ground, ready to spring towards the sky when the time is right. It just shows that actually a lot of the other times when we experiment different things, just for her case, she has interned in great restaurants before she became a lawyer, and she has spent some time in the corporate world, and then to finally to realize that that's not for her. What I've learned from her is really, even though when at times the choices or experience doesn't seem that obvious to us, it actually can lead to great new beginnings. We just didn't know that, but we need to hold on to those ideas, hold on to this experience to really make us eventually realize, look back and see, oh, actually those things, those experiences actually work and can work for us. And one of the other things is like a lot of the great entrepreneurs are all similar in the way that they're all men. They look a certain way, they experience the world a certain way, and her story stood out to me as a great female entrepreneur. And she also mentioned it at the end of her book. She's like, it is my sincere hope that this story provides other women with a paradigm and language to create something different. And I hold on to that dearly to my heart whenever I need some inspiration and courage to stick to my own path. I would think about that, and when I read it, I was like, this is such a good book. I didn't even put it down. Whenever I have time, I would just, even 5 minutes, I would keep reading the books. I think I finished the book in 2-3 days. And the fourth book, I've mentioned this book many times, is The Third Door by Banayan. So this book is also very famous. It is not an entrepreneur book, because he didn't really build a company, but he, at the time when he started about this whole journey, is just he was a student, undergraduate student in the University of Southern California, USC, and he found out that actually a lot of the curriculum or courses he's actually not that interested in. So he set out to this great task for himself, and he also dragged along to other friends. It's kind of like a mini project and adventure. As an undergraduate student, he's like, I want to interview all of these great successful people, entrepreneur. For example, like Bill Gates is on his list, Lady Gaga is on his list, Steven Spielberg is also on his list. He wanted to interview all of these people so that he can learn from the greatest of the greatest how to build a business, how to experience life. What is the greatest lesson from all of these people? He was just an undergraduate student, and eventually this book captured all the journey he did of interviewing, how to get to these people, how to interview all of these people. And the lessons are sort of similar in a way to build a business, and eventually he did make that happen. And the third door is just a concept. So in life, he said there are 3 doors. 99% of the people will go through the first door, the front door. And then there's like of the people who are the VIPs, they will go through another door. But the very small portion of the people will go through the third door. There's always a third door. There's always a way that you can make things happen differently. There's always a way that other people cannot think of it, and you need to find out a different way to get to the person that you want to interview. There is a different way you wanted to sign a contract. You need to maybe show up in a different way. That's how he pictured and narrates what is a third door about. And that is a very great entrepreneurial book. I keep recommending this book to anyone who's especially very early on in their any type of entrepreneurship journey, even not necessarily building a company. Even if it's just a school project, even if you just want to experiment something, that is one of the best books I would recommend. And this also is one of the few books I read cover to cover all the way towards the acknowledgement. What he said in the book really changed what I believe, what I can do. And I think that's what he wants for all the readers, because he says, when you change what you believe is possible, you change what becomes possible. And that's certainly the case for me this year. There are so many times now I look back, it's just like a miracle, a lot of things that happen in a way that I would never imagine that could be possible. But it has become possible just because I try it in a different way, just because I show up in a different way. It's very hard to explain, but then I feel like if I haven't read this book, I might not be able to think of those ways. I might not be able to have that courage just to show it differently. Finally, last but not the least, is Never Enough from Barista to Billionaire by Andrew Wilkinson. So Andrew Wilkinson is a Canadian entrepreneur, and I think his network now is not a billionaire level, but because he has signed all of those like give out pledge. So now I think his network is around maybe $500 to $600 million. But this book is from the very beginning of how he started his own journey. He actually have never worked a single day in a corporate life, and he started as a barista in this indie coffee shop. But eventually he also realized being a barista, though is nice, though you just do latte art all day, but you eventually need a job. So he, by chance, that was coincide before the dot-com bubble, this the tech boom, and he started his own design agencies just to help people do their website, and that's how he started it. And eventually he built different websites, he hired people to do it, and eventually he grew his empire of companies bigger and bigger. Now he also he owned this company called Tiny. Tiny actually invests in different type of digital media companies the way that he wanted at the time. When he's building his company, he wants other people who can invest in his company, this long-term patient capital, just to help the founders grow their business. And that's what he's doing. But what really stood out to me about this book is he explored this idea of what's next. Because we always we look up to, like for me, like average workers. But when I was working in banking, I was looking up to people who are outside of the corporate world, or maybe if you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, you want to look into people who have made it to the top. But people who have made it to the top, for example, these successful exited entrepreneurs, they're actually looking for people who are even more, they have more zeros in their net worth. So in this book, he really took us to behind doors, his experience when he's have these interactions with people who are billionaires, who are like multi-billionaires, what type of life that they have. And eventually he found out actually everyone is chasing for the next goal. There's never gonna be enough. And he landed on this balance of what is enough for one person, that we really need to understand what is enough for you. Otherwise, you will never rest. And it's such a beautifully written book. It's like, I feel like it can be transformed into a movie, really, because I really cannot stop reading it. This has all the good elements of a successful entrepreneur being young and exiting his company, has all these ups and downs, all this uncharted territory when he's building his startup, when he's trying to sell his company, when there's a lot of plots that you see in movies. Even the love story is very engaging and captivating for a reader, so it's definitely a great book to read. Also, I can tell from the book and how he wrote it, he's just a great he's just a good person. He's like a very grounded billionaire. Even though he's a billionaire, he's like a very grounded billionaire. You can see how genuine he is from the book, the way that he wrote his book. I also read it from cover to cover, all the end towards the end. And towards the end, he said, "I appreciate you allowing me to live in your head for 5 to 10 hours and hope it was reasonably enjoyable." Me as a reader, I will use 100% of my reputation to say it's definitely worth that 5 to 10 hours, and it's truly enjoyable. And for that, that's all the books I wanted to recommend to you. I will end this main part of the recommendation from his quotes. Andrew Wilkinson said, "After all, the beginning is the best part." And most of us probably wouldn't have kept going if we knew about all the speed bumps. The journey is the reward. So after all of these books, I really want to say is how I realized actually, no matter how difficult it is the past year has been for me, no matter how difficult at the time when it's like really stressful, really difficult to think another day how I can go about it, eventually the journey is really, really rewarding for me. In the year, I've grown so much, and these are the 5 books I think no matter where you are in your journey, you'll be happy to read about, and the journey is the reward. So after so many books about entrepreneurship, I realized all of these people have 5 qualities or mindsets that I want to adopt for myself. I have been trying to adopt it every single day, and I want to carry it together with me into 2025, and I think that would be helpful for you for 2025 as well. So first one, if you don't ask, you don't get. For example, in That Will Never Work, Marc Randolph showed us no doesn't always mean no. No is usually somewhere to start. No is usually somewhere that if you adopt a different mindset, it's a great way to get feedbacks. It's a great way to see how you can view rejections as a fuel. I have been trying to adopt this. I have a failure journal. You can see it in this video, how I adopt failure journal as actually, I don't even remember how many failures I have in the past year, like rejections I've had. I will just write it down at the time when I have that failure, and I will look it back. I will set a reminder on my calendar. I will look it back a month from now and 6 months from now. And now I actually receive these reminders. I was like, I didn't even remember I have that failure. I didn't even remember I have that rejection because I have evolved and improved so much in my journey. And I think that's a mindset maybe you want to try out as well. Secondly is there's always a third door. So we talked about it in the third door books so many times. If you want to start, you always will find a way. If you are passionate enough, also in the book Erin, she also mentioned that if you're passionate enough, if you're so fixated on an idea, you'll always come back to the idea. So if you're passionate enough, you can always find a way. They might not be straightforward, but you can always find a way to reach out to that person, to get a deal, to get another intro that can help you to reach the goal. For example, one of the things that I've learned is if you wanted to reach out to get a networking for someone else, click a connect on LinkedIn is not enough. Maybe it's better just, there's a third way to do it. Maybe you can just reach out to these people from their published articles or essays to say, oh yeah, I've been reading about this. I wanted to share some of my ideas. Can we make a connection? That's a much easier way than just to say, I want to get a job in your company, because that makes you to stand out. It's just a simple idea of how you can actually adopt a different mindset. And for me this year, one of the biggest moments and my happiest moment is actually I got to arrange this launch event for my other podcast, and I reached out to the organizer. I was like, look, I have this podcast, which is true, but my podcast certainly is not big. I was just using it as a chance. I would be like, yeah, sure, can I maybe get a media ticket to this conference, which is one of the biggest climate conference in Europe. And these people, they reply me right away. They were like, sure, this is your media ticket. I would never have imagined that could work, but that's an evidence of the third door. The third thing is, know what you don't want to do is also very important. So Erin Wei's decision of leaving her corporate life, the lawyer fancy job, away to build this mac and cheese restaurant is certainly controversial, I would say, to say the least. I think certainly in my journey, I might not always know what I want to do the most, but I will always have this gut feeling to know what I don't want to do. It's been true in the past 5 years, and I ended up in somewhere better than I can ever imagine. It's just because I know what I don't want to do. And I feel like people actually respect that. If you know exactly what you don't want to do, at least you cross out something that you don't want to waste your time on. The fourth thing is usually these people, they don't take rejection personally, and I have found that in many people's mindset, like if they're building their own business, if they're building some kind of exciting project, they always know that actually rejection doesn't mean that people are rejecting you as a person. If you can adopt that mindset, you can always find a way to improve upon what you have asked people, what you are trying to achieve, and how you can actually land it something that's bigger than, oh, because people rejecting me, they don't like me. Then it's not hopeful for you if you wanted to do something that's bigger than yourself. And always, I think there's also rejection therapy that people try to accumulate maybe 50 no's. Usually you wouldn't even get 50 no's. I think that's from a lot of the great entrepreneurs. If you wanted to get 50 no's, actually people would never get 50 no's. Usually maybe 10, 15, you will get a yes. You just wanted to adopt that mindset so you can just keep going. And finally is persistent through hard times. All of these people, they have endured very hard situations, like bank rejecting them and then money will run out and very soon, just in 2 months or something like that. Or maybe they need to deal with situations nobody have taught them to, because no one actually teach you how to build a business. You just need to build a business. You need to go through all the difficult scenarios and just do it. Now, I think all of these entrepreneurs, they have endured many difficult times. Marc, Randolph, when he's building Netflix, there's one time they have this huge scandal. They've sent, remember there's a DVD renting business, right? At the beginning, there should be a big launch. It's about a launch of a video clip about a presidential speech or something like that, but they mix it up with the porn type of video, and then they actually send it out to everybody.
And it was obviously very embarrassing, and I wrote an email to everybody saying, if by accident you are one of the 300 customers who received the porn instead of the Clinton testimony, please send it back and we'll promptly replace it.
So I think part of this launch of the DVD is actually that porn video. So that it's like a national scandal. He needs to apologize to everyone, send out a statement, but eventually I don't think people are talking about Netflix in that way. If he didn't write it out, it's like ancient history. At the end of the day, is how you get through that difficult situation and how you improve upon that. That's really matters in business and also I think in life. So that was just one of the examples, and not to mention the other examples millions of times. I think in Shoe Dog, Fiona has mentioned many times that it's just difficult for them to get a loan from the bank. Many times, if you couldn't find a way, there's another way. I think the people who are actually going to be able to stick around and enjoy the journey are the ones who can actually make it to the very end and see the only way out is through. So this year for me, I think it's a year of persistence, it's a year of resilience. I really need to give myself some credit. I would want to carry that with me in 2025. I hope that for you it's the same. So these memoirs aren't just about business. They're about redefining success and embracing difficulties, resilience, creativity, and balance. These memoirs have been a source of my inspiration and fuel every day when I feel time is so tough. I just need to read it again and again, all of these great books. They have been a source of inspiration of my own journey, and I hope that they can be a source of inspiration for your own journey. Or say the least, at least one book you want to pick up for your own reading journey. That would be good enough. Reading has really changed my life, and many people have told me the same. I want this to happen for you too. If you're going to do one thing after this video, put one of these books on your to-read list, or at least just read one page. In this video, at the end of the video, at the description, I will put all the links, and also I will share my reading notes with you in Notion. You can you can go to the link and subscribe to and read about it as well. So let me know if you have any other entrepreneurial book or any of your favorite book to share with me. I'm always looking for the next book to read. I hope for 2025 you have all the best entrepreneurial or new spirit with you to go through the new year in the best way you want to. I'll see you next time.